2011, including Sheikh Ali Salman, who of course we're here to discuss today. As you know, there are thousands of political, and I'm sure you all know, there are thousands of political prisoners in Bahrain, not just one man. So you might ask, why are we here discussing just Sheikh Ali Salman today? Let me say it clearly. We call for the release of all political prisoners in Bahrain. All of the ones who were arrested in 2011 and all of the ones who've been arrested every single day since. From Ibrahim Sharif to Hassan Mashema, to Abdul Hadi al-Khawaja, to Mahdi Abu Deeb, to the thousands of unnamed and unknown prisoners who are in Bahrain's prisons today. We call for the freedom of all of them. They're all prisoners of conscience and they should be immediately and unconditionally released. But we're talking today about Sheikh Ali Salman, not just because it's a violation of his rights, not just because his arrest and detention is unfair and unjust, not even just because he has a young daughter, Nabah, who's waiting for him at home, wondering where her father is, but because the detaining of the leader of the main opposition party in Bahrain is a clear message from the authorities. The message is Bahrain will not reform. Bahrain will not change. Bahrain will not open a dialogue. Bahrain is not up for discussion with the opposition. And Bahrain will lock away all of those who peacefully call for change. Nobody is safe in Bahrain, and that's the message that is being sent out by arresting Sheikh Ali Salman. That's why his case is so important. By the time Sheikh Ali faces his next hearing, which is on the 25th of March, he would have already spent 3 months in prison. 3 months for a man who hasn't even been found guilty yet of any crime. A man who there's absolutely no evidence against him at all. How can you hold a man for 3 months without granting him bail when there is no concern over national security? This is a man who holds roses on protests. This is a man who, when protesters are using the language of the downfall of the regime, he pleads with them to use non-aggressive language. This is a man who was the very first signatory of the opposition's non-violence declaration. So you have to ask, is this a man a threat to national security? Why would they constantly refuse his bail? And the answer is simple. Because the message in Bahrain is that all political dissent is not tolerated. But for the long-term stability in Bahrain, Sheikh Ali Salman has to be seen as a solution, not as part of the problem. The longer he stays in prison, the worse it becomes. The possibility is it will drag Bahrain into a path of further escalation, violence, deterioration, and of course the threat of sectarianism. So the first step for Bahrain to start to go on the path of stability is to release Sheikh Ali Salman and then start and opening a dialogue with him. He needs to be involved in these discussions, but this won't happen alone. The international community has a vital role to play in bringing Bahrain to the dialogue table, in helping to bring about reform. If Western countries who speak about democracy and human rights want to see a stable Bahrain, it starts with this. It starts with the release of the main opposition figures. The office, a fantastic statement when Sheikh Ali Salman was arrested. They called for his immediate and unconditional release. But by contrast, just yesterday, the British government, of which I'm a citizen, released a statement talking about the current situation in Bahrain. I'm going to read to you exactly what they said about Sheikh Ali Salman. We encourage the government to ensure that due legal process is followed in all cases and that sentencing is proportionate. This is a shameful attitude to take about a peaceful opposition leader. There is no due legal process. All there is the arbitrary detention of one man. And to say that his sentencing should be proportionate, there should be no sentencing. He shouldn't have been arrested in the first place. And as a British citizen, I find it disgraceful that my government is taking this position. Hopefully we're going to expand on these topics with our speakers coming up now. I'm going to introduce them all one by one. They'll speak for a few minutes. Some of them have to leave and rush off. The first speaker will be Dr. Essam Nauman. He's a former telecommunications minister from Lebanon. Second to speak will be Dr. Abdelnabi Al-Ekri. He's a veteran human rights campaigner in Bahrain, representing the Bahrain Human Rights Observatory. Dr. Violet Daguerre from the Arab Commission for Human Rights will speak third. Fourth, we have Abdul Wahab Al-Hani, who's not here yet, but he represents the Al-Majd party in Tunisia. And finally, Dr. Hamid Al-Dashti, Abdelhamid Dashti will speak. He's a Kuwaiti MP and also a long-time campaigner in Bahrain. After that, we have a short film which will be shown, which is about 9 minutes, and then we'll obviously open up for questions from the floor and from the members of the press. So thank you very much, and I would like to, just before I invite the first speaker, there is a hashtag we're running, Free Sheikh Ali. If people are watching this on the live stream, feel free to tweet any questions you might have for any of the panelists, and obviously I'll try to make sure they get answered. So without further ado, I'd like to invite Dr. Essam Nauman to come up and speak. Thank you.